This might come as a surprise to a lot of people watching, as right now the prevailing sentiment is that Bitcoin has topped out, and anything other than that idea is pure copium. I actually think the opposite. I think that people that are panicking right now, thinking the top is in, are largely people who have entered the market within the last year, have not experienced the full cycle, and if I'm being honest, they're just being big scaredy cats. And I have a few things I want to cover in regards to that, why I think that. In addition, we've seen gold absolutely explode. And this is actually, at least historically, a metric that actually signals that big things are coming, not to the downside. And additionally, my memory is a little bit better than a goldfish's, and I distinctly remember every single time we've had one of these drawdowns over the past few years, people have been panicking and feeling the exact same scaredy, squealing and crying reactions that we're seeing right now. Although, to be fair to goldfish actually have pretty good memories for fish, by the way. Because I know there's that saying of like people have a memory of a goldfish and like it's supposed to be an insult. But honestly, goldfish, and I actually Googled this to verify too, goldfish can remember things for like weeks, months even. Can you believe that? Inside that little tiny baby brain, they actually can remember things. It's actually kind of impressive. But so some of the things I want to talk about here is that the heart of the bull market has not even started. What we saw with memes isn't comparable to a true alt season. I've gone over this over and over again. We have not had a clear narrative. We have not had, where we have in the past where it's been memes. It's been AI. It's been this. It's been that. There's always some kind of narrative that really pushes, whether it's DeFi, right? DeFi was one back years ago as well. There's always some narrative, and it's one of the things that pushes alts up. But we haven't had anything like that at all this cycle. We have seen alts just suffer relentlessly. Memes, AI, DeFi, whatever it is, nothing like that has happened this cycle. But I think that, with this and a few other things I'm going to be talking about, there is going to be a narrative that emerges. So this is a post I'm sure you're seeing circulating on X by Julian. What this covers is not just crypto, but just in terms of the macro cycle in general where we are. It covers a lot of different things. I have a few things highlighted that he points out. Based on his set of indicators he's looking at, the data is pointing to something different than the past. It's not like an above trend late cycle economy. It looks actually more like an early cycle economy. About 90% of central banks are actually cutting rates, and that's huge. On a forward-looking basis, it's a massive tailwind for the business cycle. And in summary, I'll just, you can see his account up at the top if you want to read the entire thing on X. But basically, in summary, it's not late cycle. It's actually early cycle, which is growth up and inflation down, equaling a macro spring in the market. Soon transitioning to a mid-cycle, which is growth up, inflation up, macro summer. And that's according to just, it's a pretty lengthy post. I'm not going to read the entire thing. But there's a decent amount of information, as you can see, whether it's manufacturing, consumer confidence, wage data, job openings, small business confidence, all of these things pointing to the idea that with our current macro cycle, which isn't just crypto, but it includes crypto, it includes risk on assets as well, we are not where I think people think we are. Because really, what is the argument right now that we're about to top out and this whole thing is going to come crashing down within the next 30 to 60 days? The best argument to justify that I've seen is basically people will compare the length of all-time highs to all-time highs, like how long it took to get there, and then other things like that. And those are very flimsy. Those are very, right, it's been a certain amount of time. If you look at certain tops in the past, from top to top, there is a certain amount of time that does line up. But does that mean that, let's say we hit 1,064 days or whatever from the last all-time high, all of a sudden that's the top and we're straight going down, and that's what we should be basing everything on, and not actual, for example, macro data like this, or for example, what gold's doing, which I'm going to be talking about in a second. I think those are the two camps. You can either look at all of these things that I have on the screen right now, and many more, including, for example, the no top indicator for crypto at all has even gotten close to firing yet. Or should we just look at the fact it's been roughly about 4 years since the last all-time high. Basically, as soon as we hit that mark, we're going straight down. That's not a super strong argument, in my opinion. It's it's not a very confidence inducing way to trade the market, or to view how the rest of this cycle is going to go. Because again, if you base it on that, then what? We have like a month or two left. Before 2026 is where we should top, right? Sometime within the next month or two, 1, 2, maybe 3 months. I don't know. I just don't buy it. This is a 13-year chart, according to Riggs on X, currently about to break out of a massive 5-year bullish inverse head and shoulder pattern. 97% of people are still too blind or too lazy to study Bitcoin. I would say it's most people. And yeah, this is when the bull market starts, according to James Van Straten. It's a 300% increase for Bitcoin against gold. Gold has been absolutely exploding. Bitcoin will be chopping around for a while longer, according to Joe on X. Take a look at gold. It moves with about a 100-day lead to Bitcoin, as it's 10x more liquid and widely distributed. Bitcoin is an echo boom. First maintenance rate cut next week. We're seeing, again, just next week, probably about the 15th, we're going to see a rate cut. Last time we got rate cuts, the market did pump. Q4 setup looks great. We have this as well. You can see, if you zoom in on the screen, gold leads in these dark gray periods, and then Bitcoin catches up. You see Bitcoin in red here, catching up in this white period. Gold leads, where Bitcoin's not really doing much, kind of similar to right now, where gold's leading and Bitcoin's not doing much, and then Bitcoin catches up. Same thing's happening right now. Gold is leading. Gold's absolutely exploding, by the way. And when Bitcoin catches up, it's going to catch a lot of people off guard, I think. Now, what if that doesn't happen until Q1 2026? What if we actually don't get much of a crazy upside move for Bitcoin? That's not my base. I personally think we will see a lot of growth in October and November specifically. Not necessarily maybe this month, September. I don't have a strong opinion or view on if September specifically will be bullish. I don't know. I just think a lot of data points to October and November as we head into the end of the year. But what if we really don't experience the full explosiveness, full parabolic upside moves in the crypto market and also risk on assets in general until maybe early 2026? Wouldn't that catch a lot of people off guard? I would say it's a safe bet that like 90+% of crypto Twitter and people that are involved in this space would not be expecting the real upside, like absolutely insane upside then in Q1 2026. I just don't think people are expecting that. I think most people are following along with the 4-year cycle. We have to top out within the next month or two. And I don't know. I don't know if that's well, I do know. My opinion is I don't think that is the best way to be looking at this. I could be wrong, of course. We could all be wrong. I just think that there's a lot of data that's really hard to ignore. And if we're going to be basing all of our opinions and all of our trajectories of this market on just only a time factor and not these other macro cycle liquidity and other indicators, I don't know. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. Gold has gone absolutely parabolic, as we've seen. It's only a matter of time before that money flows into digital gold. And again, there is a lag. According to this post, about 100-day or a lead on gold and a lag on Bitcoin by about 100 days. And it is hard to think that Bitcoin and stocks are having long-term drawdowns or will have long-term drawdowns when the dollar strength is like this. Basically, what he's saying is as if being bullish isn't even bullish. It's just cash devaluing. And that's exactly right. So that's the thing. Like, we're seeing gold go up a lot. Is it because gold is just increasing in value? In a sense, but more so, again, it's just that the US dollar is just losing value like crazy. And it should be losing value because there's inherently no value whatsoever in the US dollar. I had to go to my bank about a month or two ago, and I had to do a large transfer, and I put some money in my account, and he was like, wow, like, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or something, but it was a decent amount of money. And he was asking me like what I did. And one of the things I said, right, I basically was just telling him like I've been investing in Bitcoin for like a decade, stuff like that. And he was like, it's crazy. He was so like, he wasn't like necessarily condescending, but you could tell he had a very visceral reaction. He had like 2 responses right off the bat within like 5 seconds of me saying anything about crypto, kind of being like, oh yeah, you know, it'll have value as long as people think it has value or something. And then he said one other thing, and I was like, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what cash is, but even cash has even less value, whatever. I didn't really get into it because, one, I'm not in the business of convincing. I make YouTube videos. I really don't go out of my way to start conversations with people I meet in real life all the time about crypto. I think I preach enough about it on social media and stuff, and like I just don't have the energy to have these hour-long debates with people in person that lead nowhere because they're stubborn. A lot of people are stubborn and they don't want to be convinced of anything anyway. They just want their beliefs reaffirmed, and that's it. And they never will want anything other than that until it's too late. And eventually they will be asking about Bitcoin. Eventually they will be buying it, but might not be for years. And then they'll be kicking themselves, whatever. And like just the same way as it was 5 years ago versus now. If you would have bought Bitcoin 5 years ago, guaranteed you'd be a lot happier with your investment now than 5 years ago. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. But my point being is that people truly don't understand how worthless fiat is, how worthless the US dollar is. And it's so simple. You don't even have to like Bitcoin. You don't even have to like crypto. But it's delusional to think that cash is a good investment or a place to store your value. It's delusional when quite literally our money is being, the US dollar and other fiat currencies around the world are just being printed to infinity, devaluing what currently exists, right? It's less and less valuable the more they print of it. And will they stop printing it? No, they can print it as much as they want because it's fake money. It's not backed by anything. Just like how those same people who are not investing in crypto like to say Bitcoin is not backed by anything. Well, believe it or not, it's actually backed by way more than the US dollar is. And funny enough, all those people that will say that crypto isn't backed by, or Bitcoin isn't backed by anything, they much prefer something that's backed by quite literally nothing confirmed, and they're okay with it. They don't even want to be convinced or they don't even want to understand why Bitcoin is backed by something. They don't even want to hear why, because they don't want to live in reality. They want to live in a fantasy world, and they want to like cry about the fact that the dollar's devaluing, but not look for an alternative. They just want to be upset. They want to be the victim, and they don't want to look for a better alternative. And that's fine. But, well, actually, it's not fine. It's really sad and like a loser mentality, to be honest. But if that's what they want to do, that's fine. Then they can just buy it when it's more expensive. And then you and I and everybody else that's invested can just can get more of it for cheap while it is still cheap before it's way more expensive. And it's funny saying that because $100,000 per Bitcoin is still somehow cheap, just like $10,000 per Bitcoin was somehow cheap when people were looking at it prior to that. And it was only 1,000, and it was only 100 before that, and 10 before that. Soon it'll be 1 million. Soon it'll be like multiple millions of dollars, and people will be scratching their heads. Wow, how didn't I see this? Well, it's because you're delusional. It's because you didn't want to learn. It's because you didn't want to do research. That's okay if you don't want to have a better life. If you want to be miserable for the next 35 years working for money that just gets devalued every single year, go ahead. But don't complain about it. Accept your fate then, right? Accept that you're too stubborn and lazy to learn. It's fine with me. I really don't care. Bitcoin whale sold about $13 billion in Bitcoin over the past 30 days, the largest sell-off since 2022. And yet, where's the price of Bitcoin? Still over 100,000 US dollars. $13 billion of it sold in the past month. And we're sitting above $110,000. Imagine when the selling stops. This is quite bullish, I would say. Sensei on X says buy altcoins now and then wait for October. Thank me later. Bitcoin chart from 2020. Same exact bear trap that we're seeing right now. Bullish acceleration and new highs should start soon. It's a current right now resistance to support flip. We're also seeing Kazakhstan's president ordering the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. One more step, one more fundamental change. These are the small pieces of news, that are so nobody cares about right now, but they add up week after week, month after month. Look at the bigger picture. And as well, NASDAQ files with the US SEC to enable trading of stocks in tokenized form. Again, tokenization is coming to everything. That will benefit people that are invested in this space. The writing is on the wall, and the only people that don't see it are people that are choosing not to see it. That's the thing to me too, and this is another like mini rant, but like there are opportunities that present themselves in different forms to people throughout their lives. It's not, I'm not even just talking about crypto, I'm talking about other things. I've talked to people that are much older than me that tell me things that I've just remembered that aren't even related to crypto, but it's about being given opportunities, being given chances, being given just opportunities and not taking them. And then I hear from people that I've talked to, usually older people because they have more life experience. They'll say like how much they regret not taking this opportunity or this one or this one. It is so common as a human being to get an opportunity and think it's not, it's not worth your time. And then years down the road, you realize, wow, you made a mistake and you regret it. And you spent, and a lot of people, unfortunately, spend a lot of their life regretting a choice they didn't make because it ended up paying off for someone else, but it could have been for them if they would have taken that opportunity. For example, one that comes to my mind is somebody I talked to who was given the opportunity to buy like this massive piece of land for like, it was a family member, super, super cheap. Didn't take it. Just like within less than a decade, that land was worth literally like, and they sold it off to like as a development and people bought it and built houses on it and stuff. Would have been multiple millions of dollars just by, a smaller investment if they would have just said yes to that investment, for example, of land, and they didn't take it. They had the money at the time, and if they didn't, back then, they easily could have gotten a loan for it or something, and they could have made it work, but they didn't. And they lived a lot of their life thinking, wow, like if I would have just done that, I wouldn't be worrying about money at all. You wouldn't even have to do much. You just bought this piece of land, divide it into sections, and then sell it off for housing and stuff. That's what someone else did, and they made a ton of money. So little things like that. People are afraid to take risks. But again, I think the biggest risk is just accepting that you can work for 30, 35, 40 years of the rest of your life with a stable income, which again, you can lose your job any day. Your job is not guaranteed. People don't like taking risks, but the bigger risk, in my opinion, is deciding, hey, I'm going to chill for the next 40 years doing something I really don't want to do. But hey, at least I'll get that little paycheck every other week. That's a way bigger risk. And I think if more people understood that and thought that way, a lot more people would be successful. But it takes a little bit of gut, and it takes a little bit of, it takes a little bit of something that most people don't have. That's the easiest way for me to say it, I think. You need to be okay with taking risks, right? And it's okay to lose on those risks as well. Not all risks that you take are going to pay off. That's okay. They don't need to. But you can't let that deter you. Also, you obviously want to be smart about what risks you're taking. I'm not advising people just take every risk that is put in front of them. But like, if there's something that comes in front of you and you think, okay, this actually might be a good opportunity, and then you just decide for no reason really whatsoever, I'm not going to do it, whether it's laziness or whatever, and then it turns out to be something that really would have worked out well for you, you got to think about that. You got to live with that. You got to live with turning that opportunity down. And you have to make sure the next time, if another opportunity comes up and it passes your test of what's worth the risk or what's not, you need to make sure you take it. Because I don't know, a lot of people that I know personally just have always been too afraid to take risks, and I just know them and they just won't. And that's why they'll never be successful. It sounds harsh, but like it is that simple. It's not really an opinion. It's just like objectively how the world works. And taking risk, again, it's okay to lose. It's okay to fail. You should be okay with failing with whatever you do. Because eventually all it takes is one thing to pay off and you're good, right? You can fail 100 times, but all it takes is that one time where you don't fail and you made it. But looking at Bitcoin on a weekly chart, what is this? So on the weekly, we had a green candle actually just now closed. We have a fresh candle sitting right above the 21-week moving average. So far, this actually looks pretty decent for the weekly. We see now, as of today, Bitcoin is actually slightly above the 21-day moving average. Getting above about 115,000 would be about above the 50-day moving average. At which point, if we get above that, it's game on. It's potential pumpy any moment mode, right? Again, like I said, about a week until we're likely to see a rate cut, which last time we got rate cuts months ago, the market moved up massively. The US dollar looks completely pitiful. It looks disgustingly bad. Actually, if we take a look at this, it looks like it's about to break down it's right at 97 right now. It looks like it's about to break down out of that and go even lower. Bitcoin dominance, who knows? I mean, this is not looking super strong, but we'll see if we get a bounce here. Altcoins and Ethereum specifically look like they want to explode. In general, this thing looks primed. And if we're really going to be following gold soon, then you can expect this market to really start pumping. So get some of the FEMX, BITUNIX, or BYBIT below if you know what altcoins are trade.